Hello, how are you? I hope you're doing well. Okay, so OMAD or fasting, alcohol, if you have alcohol, it's a meal because of the level of sugars in it. I found that because I haven't drunk for a while and I've been OMADing for about 6 months, and what happens, my liver seems to absorb all the alcohol, to be honest. And it's strange, the alcohol in the body, because of the effect it has. It's a glucose in it, but it's not really what the body wants, or it needs to be processed by the liver. It'd be interesting to know what actually the liver does to it. Is it fats, or it's a bit of a strange combination? That's why I guess it gets you drunk, because it's not quite the right chemical compound. So if you get the right sugars in, it's like rocket fuel. But if you get the wrong sugars in, then you have all sorts of other effects. So maybe it's quite possible that people have their adaptogenic abilities to these things. So you can have a certain genesis to these things. I think they would slam that word in there. So it's alcohol genesis. It's like a toxic environment, or things in your food. You can build resistance to it, but at some point it may create mutation as well, because you're forcing something in there. I might look at some other forms of self-improvement as well. In the past I've used the RIFE machine, and I did some kind of new science, I guess. So the RIFE machine basically it uses frequencies like pulses, magnetic pulse, and other different frequencies. I think the other ones I use or electrical pulse. And the pulses, in the same way, we have carrier waves. So my DNA is got a set frequency, and then something operating on that frequency, a pulse, is information, and that information enters into my sort of energetic field. And there's a range to it as well. It's a bit like radio signals, it can't go on forever, but it might do in the quantum field. So it depends if you go in this quantum entanglement. So when you start using magnetism, you can enter in different levels. So it may have a certain level of dissipation as well from the distance. So if I'm doing an experiment, I'm in the room with it, the outcome is more highly effective than if I am in a different country and running the experiment. But what I've done as well is I've used more than one genetic sample together, and what that's done is stimulated me and this host, but also there's been some energy exchange there. There's been some quantum entanglement. I mean, it's in essence, it's like sharing sexual energies or something with somebody. You would take on some of that person's energy, even though you don't realise it. You share at some quantum level at that point. It's not a permanent necessary thing. It's just it's what you're sharing, I guess. And especially if you have a child, the child has got signatures from both the parents and got a unique signature themselves, but there's still a connection, a spiritual connection to that parent, I guess. And so I used that before with some other DNA sample. I guess it's actually altered my character slightly. I think certain interests have been stimulated because I used someone's DNA. It was just to help heal her, actually. She was going through some things, and I've added my DNA. The idea was that I could aid her healing or correct something's missing in her genetic link. It might be that the gene switched off, or inactivity or something. So yeah, that's part of it. But I've done other things with like dinosaurs' teeth and so on. And I heard this dinosaur in my head. It was pretty bonkers. But on occasions, I've had tempted to eat raw meat and things like that. If I see the raw meat there, sometimes I think about eating it. As it is, it's pretty weird. But that's probably happened ever since I've had that dinosaur introduced to my genetics. So it's just like the energy frequency, but there might be more going on there than that. It's like I've gone through the back door of hacking my body because why I eat things with genetic information, living tissue, and it's broken down, its energy gets released into the body, and then the body filters it and uses it how it wants. And then at some points it learns and adapts and develops from it, and other times it doesn't. So it's an intelligent system internally. But what I'm doing is I'm introducing the code directly into my DNA, because I'm using my DNA as a kind of a signature. So, I mean, I don't know what you would know yourself about it. It's just a case of doing a bit of research on RIFE if you don't fully understand. So, if I take a part of myself, like hair, a bit of nail, it still has a connection to me while it's living. Once another host takes over it, it starts reabsorbing that frequency energy, but it has a frequency around it, and it can be measured, and basically this information can be sort of taken. You could be digitalized at some level, or it could be mimicked. And so what happens is, if you take a living sample and then you add a frequency into it, it stimulates changes in that sample, but that sample is also connected to you. Another thing that supports it is that 12 monkeys experiment. They basically introduced something to a group of monkeys on one island, but the whole species knew the answer, or had actually learned. So, it's a bit like if I gave a vaccine to a genetically basically identical species, so they might be able to vaccinate, for instance, identical twin, and their brother or sister has already gains the immunity from it. So I could immunise the sample, and it would have the quantum effect of actually fixing the other person, and so on. So that's basically kind of the basics of it. It sounds crazy, you just have to think about it and look stuff up. Definitely a monkey experiment's true, that's out there. I think they taught them a new skill, and then the other monkeys have this problem-solving skill they developed. They instantly knew it. So as a species, we learn we have a kind of collective consciousness, and there's probably a connective sort of connection to the species. But we also function as individuals, the human race. It's not kind of like ants. They do as well. They go into panic mode and they're sort of cut off from their group. And anyway, so what I'm planning to do is add new samples into the experiment. I was wondering why we shake when we're in the cold, and I think it's actually a defensive response, because we also shake when we're scared and other things. So it's our body trying to defend itself, and it's building up, I guess, an electrical charge in itself as well. And reactive, so the muscles are more reactive, they're charging up. And there's other animals. Let's get around a dump truck. Yeah, so basically I saw this thing about electric eels, and the electrical charge is generated in their muscles, not in their nervous system. So that would be the same for every species, just they've got a tighter alignment. It's like a heart or something. The ridges are really close together, and that builds a charge up. So it must tense up before it discharges energy, or does something with it. It's understanding that, so our bodies have that ability. I was wondering where we generate some of the electricity from. So in a metabolism, it's not just heat, it's come from electrical conversion. So what our body's doing is it's using the charge from the muscles to generate heat internally. And I guess there's a connection with the brown fats as well. It's a bit of a mystery. I'm going to have to write all this stuff down and really look at it, and then look up research to back it up as well. Because I can tell you what I feel, I can tell you what my intuition is, but it's raw information. Somebody must say, well, there's no science studies to back that up. Just start looking. If there isn't, it could be because no one's ever touched upon this field. And the other thing I've got some shark teeth coming to me. Maybe what I should try to do is get hold of a bit of electric eel tissue, and then I can add that to the RIFE machine and add that to my own add it to my own DNA. So I might have new powers. Might be more resistant to things. Might be resistant to electrical charges. The other thing electric eels do, they can sense electric charges as well. And people have done that with people that have had a body and put magnets inside them. Their nerves are connected up to the magnets, and they can sense electrical devices that are near or other magnets. Which is probably no surprise, really. But there may be a way to do it more neater internally. And so maybe just like, so I guess it is a chimera kind of experiment, but spiritually more than anything. More likely to turn up in my dreams and dream about some animals. Sharks do sometimes, and sharks have got brilliant regenerative abilities. And they've got certain sensitive to electrical currents as well. They've got weaknesses as well. So I could hit myself with a stun gun and I'd be okay, but if that electrical energy went into a shark underwater, it would be game over. But it may be stronger underwater anyway, electricity. Than if I'm sparking through or arcing through the air. Okay, this is Pixie signing off, and speak to you soon.